are on the board. Each commissioner, please record your vote. 22 votes are entered. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? Notaries are unanimously approved, Mr. Chairman.
Notaries pulled through in a squeaker, 24-0. All right, we'll go to our standing committees. Committee on Committees, Mr. Goode.
Mr. Chairman, Committee on Committees met tonight at its regular scheduled time at 6:30. There were two items on the agenda: the reappointment of Paul Goode as chair and Mrs. Tucker was vice chair, and the Health, Education, and Housing Facilities Committee. The county mayor recommended Sean Fennell to reappointment of a 6-year term and Gene Montgomery to a 6-year term. That was unanimous, and I so move.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Could you state that again, Mr. Goode? I apologize.
Which
the motion?
Okay. Okay. Health and Education and Housing Facilities Committee. County mayor recommended Sean Fennell to refill a 6-year term and Gene Montgomery to refill a 6-year term, and it was unanimous, and I so move.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Goode, seconded by Commissioner Shell. I see no one in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, I have Commissioner Mansfield and Commissioner Mo Taylor voting no. Commissioner Hyde voting no. Any other no's? Okay, so by a vote of 21-3, motion passes. Education Committee. No report tonight. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Highway Commission.
Get to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hinton. General Ops, Michelle.
No report, sir.
Okay. Emergency Services. No report, sir. Okay. Financial Management. No report. Okay. At this time, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and Mr. Kemp thinks that a reset of the system will get everything back up and working so we can all see. It'll make it a lot easier to communicate. So without objection, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Tell people on the screen that it's going to shut down, but it'll come back up.
It will shut down the stream for about 5 minutes. It'll come back on.
And if there are, I don't know what the standards are in elementary school, but those grades that deal with agriculture type of things could very easily be brought there for that. We're looking at a multi-year project. This is all going to be done next week. Okay, this is a multi-year project. It'll be done over a number of years. And as been mentioned before, there is no mention of ESSER funds anywhere in this resolution. It's up to the Board of Education. Now, several comments were made about illegal use of funds or misappropriating funds. I will tell you that the Board of Education will not illegally use federal funds. They have people working at the central office whose job it is to make sure that federal funds are spent properly. They're not going to misappropriate federal funds. Okay? That's not going to happen. So that is a point that really, I mean, that should end here. The restrictions that have been on previous deeds will not be on this deed. This will be a totally different deed. If the Board of Education, if we do this, and the Board of Education doesn't like the deed.
Hang on a second.
He's talking about stuff he legally can't talk about. He don't know for deed restrictions.
I think he's reporting on what was communicated in committee and legislative.
Legally, he cannot do that because he don't know what restrictions going to be on the next deed.
Mr. Graves, he's talking.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, I was talking. Wasn't out of order.
Okay, I'm listening.
That property, did you know that the largest group cannot go so many feet to that state road and mine rock. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I don't see that that has anything to do with the resolution before us.
Well, sir, it does. Has that land had an archaeology study done on it?
I'll-
We're going to spend some kind of federal money, state money on it.
Mr. Graves, your point of order was whether Mr. Ring could speak about something. I'm overruling your objection to be out of order. We're going to go back to Mr. Ring.
Thank you. As I was saying, if there's any restrictions that come up that the Board of Education doesn't like, they don't have to take the property. They don't have to sign the contract. It's a totally, point I'm trying to make is, it's a totally new deed from what we've ever talked about before. And it's 42 acres, not just the Comer Barn. And so it's up to the Board of Education. If they think this is a good deal, they'll be voting on this, but if they think this is a good deal, then I think they should be allowed to do this. I think it's a good use of that property. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ring. Mr. Wright.
This barn has been knocked around for several years. How much money of the $500,000 has been spent so far? Can anybody give me that number?
Yes, sir. Hold on one second. Without objection, I'll go to Ms. DeWitt.
$8,700.
Correct.
Before we voted to spend $250,000 of taxpayer money and another $250,000 matching funds, when I drove by that barn, there was a tarp over the hole in the roof. After that, $500,000 was approved. That tarp was removed. We have spent $8,700 so far. How much does a tarp cost to cover the hole? Just kind of curious. I know it's not $8,700, folks. My problem is if we are not going to cover that hole, what else are we not going to do? That hole has been there, I have no idea, probably for years. If we're not going to take care of that small problem, how can we be trusted for the rest of it? Now, I heard someone talk about the 42 acres. Yes, maybe Rogers Group will give us 42 acres. Rogers Group is a business, people. I haven't seen a single representative from them here. The 42 acres, if it could be used for anything else, it would have already been used. I don't see how we can vote for this barn like it is. Ms. DeWitt, Commissioner DeWitt, I commend you, ma'am, for your tenacity, and sometimes I call it hard-headedness. That's what my wife tells me. And for the rest of the commissioners who are for it, and the citizens. But folks, whether it's federal money, county money, or state money, it's taxpayer money. I have not seen a money tree in my whole life. If anybody has one, please let me know, because then I'd probably vote for the barn to plant money trees on the 42 acres. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Mr. Becker.
Yeah, I just wanted to start off and also just commend Commissioner DeWitt's and the committees, their involvement in trying to find the most the best or the most ideal usage of the Comer barn. You know, it's my understanding, obviously, I guess, in a school board study session that the ESSER funds were brought up as a potential source. And I know, and I understand, I can argue against, you know, should we, quote unquote, worry about the funding or not. But if it's not the ESSER funds, then it's funds that we, as the commission, have provided to them. So I personally can't just separate those two issues. And so, I mean, to me, I think the whole Comer barn restoration, that effort, should continue to be from a private fundraising standpoint. I know it wasn't 100%, obviously. Well, I say obviously, but it wasn't 100% private. But one thing that happened in my district a couple years ago was the Indian Lake. What's it called? The Beatty Farm. Yes, thank you. The Beatty Farm. I had a brain freeze. You know, citizens, a team got together and they funded, and I contributed a significant amount to that private fundraiser. And I think the same thing needs to happen with the Comer barn. That's why I voted earlier tonight to just give it back to the Rogers Group in hopes that maybe a private entity could step in and take over. But along those lines, or in addition to that, you know, maybe the Beatty Farm can serve the purpose of this ag. You know, I'm not going to pretend to know what's all needed for an ag or STEM center. But it's my understanding that the city of Hendersonville doesn't necessarily have all the ideas figured out for the Beatty Farm. So maybe there's some potential usage there that can be discussed. Maybe on the new Liberty Creek campus. I know we've got, what is it, 274 acres. You know, obviously there's school buildings and facilities on some of those acres, but maybe there's some room there that they can do it too. So anyway, I'm just wanted to, again, number one, commend Commissioner DeWitt and the others, but then also explain just from my standpoint, I am concerned about the funding from several different regards. Then I also just wanted to offer maybe a couple other ideas for the agriculture, STEM center usage, field trip type of stuff. So I'll yield the floor there.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Becker. Commissioner Gamenden.
Call for question, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Gamenden is called for the question. We can vote on that. A yes vote is to end debate. I'm sorry, do I need a second? Second made by Commissioner Chris Taylor. All right, a yes vote is to end debate and proceed to a vote. A no vote is to continue debate. Yeah. We got, Mr. Hinton is the only one that hasn't spoken. But let's say we can't debate all this. Let's just vote.
I don't think I've spoken.
I think you have, Mr. Graves. I think you've spoken twice. Okay, well, I'll give you I thought you spoke. I'm sorry, I guess you spoke on the amendment. I apologize. So, Mr. Graves, but we can't debate really so I would say Mr. Hinton and Mr. Graves have not spoken on the main motion, but we can't really debate that on this. We need to vote. A yes vote is to end debate. A no vote is to continue debate.
All right, the motion, the amendment to vote for the question is now open. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 14 affirmative votes, the motion fails to carry.
Okay. Mr. Graves, you're up. And I do apologize, Mr. Graves. I thought you'd already spoken on the main motion.
Maybe I was out of order, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for that. And I want to thank Mr. DeWitt for her proactive approach. Even though I don't think it's the right thing to do, is to wherever the funding comes. If it comes all from us, I mean, it's going to eventually come from us, so, but anyway. I just feel like we hadn't looked, I feel like we hadn't looked at the property. Probably nobody in here has got any more history in that building than I do. I hauled hay in it 50 years ago. And there's doors falling off then. It's been a barn. I got one that's at home, it's probably 150 years old. We're not going to make it an egg center. Of course, I'm not going to give 42 acres either. But anyway, I just think this is the wrong thing to do at this time. We got a lot more school projects, a lot more unknowns about this property still, of what's going to happen, even if we did turn it over to the school board and the director. They're going to have a lot of unknowns still. So they're going to be in the catch-22 because we own that building right now. They're going to have to keep that building. My opinion, whatever it's worth. And I believe that's the reason, not saying nothing against the company that owns the property, I'm trying to get away from that word, Rogers, but, and they're Rogers Group's good for the community. They help provide a service the community needs. But they wouldn't spend all the money to fix a road out there. Why wouldn't they do that? Why didn't they donate that money to fix that road? I know it may not have nothing to do before we get you hammered with this project, but it does have something to do with this citizens in this county, and so does this. I bet if there's a way to take a poll of the adult citizens in this county, they would vote against this barn. I'm just saying that as an opinion, and I really believe that. And it's probably not a bad idea, but it's not helping the agriculture, not the farmers. Maybe future farmers, maybe, I doubt it. The list on here, I don't think I see anything, but maybe two things out of that list has anything to do with farming. So maybe the word ag don't mean ag, but anyway. And I can't support this, not necessarily because of funding. With my history about the barn, knows what that farm has been till Rogers Group took it over, and they took away that farm. They provided good service, but they took away that farm from the that owned it in past. But I'm just saying, I can't support this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. Commissioner Mansfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to clarify some things regarding our $250,000 grant from the state. That was not a one-for-one dollar. I spoke with the state finance department, the legal department for the state assembly, and we could have just put $1 in there, and they could have put $249,999, and that's what was told to me from.
Right.
So I just want to clarify that statement because it keeps on getting misspoken.
No, I think Commissioner Taylor clarified that earlier. He said that the $1 thing would have worked, but when he talked to Senator Hale, Senator Taylor's request was that we match it with county funds, and that's what. In fact, I think we discussed that the night that we actually voted to appropriate the $250,000.
All right, just want to clarify that.
Sure.
That was what the legal opinion was. But also it was said that people keep on bringing up that we're saving green space. Again, Chef Christopher tried to get a loan to turn that into an event center, and he was denied by a bank. It said no bank will give any business money to renovate a barn on a rock quarry that the Rogers Group is in their backyard in the possession. So we're never going to have somebody building houses and condos on that green space, ever. It's always going to be green space because the land's worthless. It's a mining operation and a quarry. So we're not saving anything by doing this. I mean, nothing's ever going to be there as long as there's a mining operation. This is just we're using funds to subsidize an amenity for private development across the street, the goat farm. I've heard that being basically talked about. That's what this is for. So again, just wanted to cover some of those things and clear it up. I state my opposition to giving this to the school board to use COVID relief funds to renovate a barn that no business will give you a loan for.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
Mansfield. Commissioner Chris Taylor.
Yes, sir. Just to kind of recap, and I'd just like to put facts, and I won't try and keep my opinion out of it as much as I can. After we got the deed and everything done with the Comer Barn for the county to own it, we then made the decision to set up the Historic Committee. And they would in turn help us navigate the usage, because I remember that was a big discussion, was the Historic Committee would decide what usage we would have for the Comer Barn. That way it was an independent group made up of citizens and had representation from different parts of the county. That group met, did their due diligence, and came back and had worked out the idea of doing the Ag STEM Center, which Commissioner Taylor had suggested a year earlier. And they also brought up an idea of how to do it as far as turning it over to the school system. They then negotiated with Rogers Group. And during those negotiations, they managed to set it in a much better light for us than we did initially. Initially, we had 4 acres, and we had access to the property, and that was it. And they said if we wanted to use the additional property, we could for parking. At this point now, with the Historic Committee involved, they've got 42 acres, which also includes the tourism building. Just make sure everybody understands that one, because we don't own that either. We lease that from them. And that is something that could be sold. We'll have that. We'll have all of the property in the front. They're going to supply the raw materials for a large parking lot for us. They've agreed to do some other amenities on the property to help us as far as setting things up. It will be turned over to the school board. And then just so we can be perfectly frank on that, because it's come up a lot, the school board will decide how they're going to fund it. They may have had discussions previously, but those are a moot point because they don't own it yet. We do. So if we decide tonight to give it to them, then they'll have those discussions. And I would just say that make sure you're diligent and see what the discussions are and come up. Be sure and pay attention to that. But as far as we're going, it's an increase of 42 acres. It solidifies the tourism office. It secures that area for ag, and as Commissioner Foster so aptly put, services that we don't have, that we'll have. And I'm pretty sure I've seen, my kids all went to public school here, and they rode buses to lots of field trips. We can do that. That's not a problem. We can, as far as taking the emotion out of it, just looking at it from, we asked them to come up with a solution. They did. They came up with a great solution that got the property secured so we don't have to worry about something happening around it. It got commitments for raw materials for the property. It secured the tourism building for us so we don't have to worry about that and finding them a spot or helping them. They did what we asked. They did a really good job. How the schools provide is up to them. That's not something we need to worry about. They'll take care of what they need to. And if they don't, I'm assuming there'll be some kind of trigger that reverts it back to us. That's all. It's just a simple, when you look at it fiscally, it makes perfect sense to do it. It's a really good deal for the county because it moves it over to the schools and it secures a lot of property that we had no control over before. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Hinton.
I probably heard wrong, but when the vote was taken to call for the question, did you read that as 13 votes to call for it, or
14.
to call for the question?
It has to have 16.
Sorry, I must have been asleep.
Yes, sir.
Let me. I didn't intend to say nothing about this.
Okay.
But I'm going to.
Okay.
We started this. When we started this, there was no goat farm. There was no COVID. We started this because there was a landmark sitting between here and Hendersonville that was worth saving, or at least 13 of us perceived that. I don't remember what the vote was, but we decided that night it was probably worth saving. This is an unending discussion. We can run this, there's plenty of holes and plenty of rabbits to run them down if we want to do that. This can go on forever. And like I've said before, when you look at the drawing, make sure you don't say that's an apple tree, because somebody will come back in 5 years and say you planted a pear tree there. But this is a way for preservation of historical significance from Sumner County. You have to make up your own mind what that's worth. If that ain't worth anything to you, well, then you ought to be against it. But if there's any value to it, to have some of Sumner County's history preserved, then this is worth some consideration. Is it worth, has it gone on too long in the deterioration? Yes, 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 yes. You have the results of our inability to come to a conclusion. If you want to see it, go out there and look up. The roof keeps falling off while we debate on whether or not we're going to wait for another pandemic to come along. We'll use that for an excuse, or maybe something else will come along. The question is simply before us this: if you want to lose that property, then vote this down. If you want to not repair the barn, if you want to not save the barn, if you don't want the 54 acres, if you don't want an ag place out there, and if you say you're going to vote against this because you're not for agriculture, that's not true. Now, that's not true. This is going to be an ag training center. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's advertised as. And will it be the kind that we had when I was in school? No. I don't know what all they'll teach out there, but it'll be a, when all is finally said and done, and all of us that disagree about it come along some years from now and look at this, this will be something that you can be proud of. And yes, it's going to be a struggle. It's always a struggle when you have to have money to pay for it. But we so happen to have some money now. Now, I don't like the way the money showed up, and I don't know whether, I don't care if the school board uses COVID money. I don't care if the school boards auction off buses and pay for it. It's none of my business. I can't do my 24th of what we got to do over here. I don't want to dabble in theirs. They can have that. They're welcome to it. But I think it'd be an error, serious error. And maybe you'll survive without much bad mouth about it. But somewhere down the road, if you're a whole lot younger than I am and you live long enough, somebody's going to say to you, wonder why they didn't take advantage of this project when they had the chance that Rogers Group was going to do everything they could to accommodate them, to be able to get them to take this place and spend money on it. And and they spend, you just name something to Rogers Group. We're going to need some gravel. Well, we got gravel. We're going to need some blacktop. We got blacktop. I mean, just anything we've asked them for, they've been over backwards. And if you don't believe it, go talk to them. I mean, you've had, how long has this been going on? 3 years? You've had 3 years you could have went and talked to anybody at Rogers Group you wanted to talk to, and they'd told you exactly how they felt about this project. This is not a bad project. It's an expensive project, but it's worth, surely something is worth spending money on other than just gasoline to go in the school buses or a new cop car. Surely every once in a while you have to spend a little money for some amount of preservation. If you don't believe that, vote against it. But if you vote it's worth doing, this is the best shot we've had and the best shot we will have to make preservation out there. So I submit to you that we ought to pass this, give it to the schools, and if you don't like what they do with it, go fuss it down. They won't do no worse with it than we've done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hinton.
I wish I
Michelle.
could call for the question at the end of that, but you won't let me.
Can't do it. Michelle.
Thank you. We've heard a lot tonight mentioned about several different avenues of this barn, and what I keep hearing people talk about are there's so many unknowns. You know, there's so many risks because there's unknowns with the entire project. And I just want to speak on that for just a minute. We live our life in an unknown world. We purchase cars. I purchased a brand new car because we are not mechanics in my family. We can not even change oil. That's not our thing. And so I purchased a brand new car thinking I wouldn't have to deal with that. My brand-new car has been in the shop 4 times for 3 to 4 weeks each time it's been in the car. It's beautiful, but it doesn't run right. But I made a choice when I purchased it that I felt like the benefit of purchasing a new car was going to outweigh the risk of it breaking down. It didn't work for me. And sometimes we choose to purchase things, or we choose to go forward with something, and the risk pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. And when we're talking about taxpayer dollars, we have to be really cautious on how we move forward with things. And we will never get to a point where every unknown is answered for, because that's just not the way that this works. There's always going to be unknowns. If we choose to build a park in a flood zone, we have to decide, is it worth it? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe one commissioner feels it is, maybe one commissioner feels it's not. And we all have to vote how we personally feel if that is worth the risk or the reward. And I respect those who think that the risk is not worth it. I respect your decision. But for me personally, this is an opportunity that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come around. And to me, it's worth it. It's worth it to preserve this building and to preserve the possibilities of what we can do are endless with this building. If we can stop and just for a second dream a little bit. Sometimes I feel like we forget. We encourage our kids, hey, dream big, shoot for the stars. But then we come up here as adults and we say, no, 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 that's fault in that, fault in that, fault in that, never going to work. And I would just love for us to be able to dream just a little bit and then make an educated decision for each one of us if we feel like the benefit outweighs the risk. And so before we get so caught up in the unknowns and the risk, I'm just going to ask you to just dream a little bit and put that into it and see, is it worth it? Maybe it's not for you. And again, I totally respect that. But maybe it is. Maybe it is worth it. It's worth it for my kids. I live on a farm. I'm blessed to live on a farm. My daughter has a farm Instagram account, and she's out there all the time. Her friends beg, can we please come over? We want to see the goat born. We want to see the cow. We want to do this, and we want to ride four-wheelers, and we want to, just, there's a sign-up sheet to come pet the baby goats when they're born. And to have that opportunity for these kids, this is a once-in-a-lifetime deal that we're not going to get again. And it would be a travesty to our kids if we look back 10 years down the road and say, dang, we missed out on that. So I'm just going to urge you to just really dig deep and see, do the benefits outweigh the risk for you? And if they don't, I totally respect you. But if they do, I ask that you vote in favor of this project.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Shell. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Well, I appreciate what everybody's had to say and respect everybody's opinion. Don't agree with most of them, but I respect them. One thing to clarify, there's one way where this won't cost us anything else. Unless we bring something else forward through the committee, and that's vote against giving it to the schools. So we've already give $500,000, and that's where we're at if we don't give it to the schools. That's all we're tied to. That's all we're committed to right now. So it's been said in different things that the way we got here, well, some didn't want this to cause a stigma. Well, it's caused a stigma, and it's called division because there's difference of opinions, and I still do not believe, and I have to believe, based on my observations from 11 years of being here, and different life experiences, that we're being sold one bag of goods for something else, and that's exactly what we're getting tonight. And with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, I ask you to excuse yourself from the vote because you have a conflict of interest.
You're incorrect. I do not have a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I don't own school property.
You make direct decisions.
Hmm?
You make direct decisions on both sides of the fence.
Well, my constituents elected me knowing that, so as you said, elections have consequences.
Yep, that's
So
it.
thank you for your opinion. Mr.
Thank you.
Mansfield.
I just want to clarify, Mr. Chairman, there's a difference between,
Wait,
Hang on one second, Mr. Mansfield.
I was trying to turn Mr. Taylor off, and he turned off, and I clicked you off, sorry.
Hang on one second, Mr. Mansfield. There you go. You're good.
I just want to clarify, Mr. Chairman, there's a difference between taking a risk with your personal finances and taking a risk with the hardworking taxpayers' finances of this county that elect us to what we're doing. Huge, huge difference. It's not buying a car, it's committing future generations and future budget cycles and future maintenance of effort. The school board takes us over to fund this, to come back to us for funding as the funding body. It's an enormous risk. This barn is not going to go anywhere. It's made of sandstone. It's been there for almost 100 years. It'll be there for several hundred other years unless the blasting knocks it down, which is a very real possibility because it's a rock quarry. So, if you want to look at antiquity, the land's not going anywhere because you can't develop it. The barn's not going anywhere because it's not going to get knocked down except for blasting from Rogers Group. So just want to keep that in mind. This is an unwise, to me, it's a shameful proposal to use taxpayer money of COVID funds or even school general funds that they might have to use to do this in phase 1, phase 2 for an amphitheater and all these other centers. Again, it's not about ag. This is about an amenity for the community that's going to ultimately compete against private companies. And it's an amenity for private development across the street. So I ask you guys to vote no for this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mansfield. Mr. Tinsley.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to speak very long just because I know that we've all been here and we're ready to get this moving on. But I wanted to start off and just thank Commissioner DeWitt for the hard work that she put into this. I'd like to take some of the credit being on the historical committee, but I know that she put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into trying to get this into something that we could all vote on tonight. And I just want to recognize her for her hard work. The other thing that I'm going to say, and then I'll shut up and we can move on, is that if we're going to talk about what we're going to do for the taxpayers, what we're going to do for the taxpayers, what we're going to do for the taxpayers. There are people that live in this county that are under the age of 50 that look towards the future of Sumner County with hope and optimism. And if we spend the next however long many of us sit up here saying no to everything, that eventually our county is not going to have anything. And that at some point we have to say yes to something besides, little pet projects here or there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tinsley. All right, there is no one left in the queue, so it's been a long time of debate. Let me remind everybody what we're voting for. A yes is to vote in favor of the resolution to transfer the Comer barn along with the $250,000 county dollars, $250,000 state money minus what's been spent, the $8,700 Ms. DeWitt referenced. That transfers over to the school board if they vote to receive it. If you vote no, then obviously we would retain ownership of the Comer barn.
The vote is now open. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Does anyone wish to change your vote? With 16 affirmative votes, the resolution is approved.
Okay.
You want to? We don't need, I'll tell you.
He's going to read it off to you.
There were 16 in favor, 8 against. The 8 no votes: Mo Taylor, Mansfield, Graves, Wright, Becker, Stewart, Guthrie, Hyde. The remaining votes were in favor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemp. And Ms. DeWitt, I just wanted to congratulate you and your committee. Thank you for the work that you've done. I know Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Tinsley, several others have commended you for your work. Just appreciate, please pass on to your committee that we appreciate the work that they've done. We'll go on now back to Mr. Ring.
Resolution 2109-08, amending the standing rules and procedures of this body regarding the provision of certificates of recognition and other honors or acknowledgements, and I so move.
Motion made by Commissioner Ring, second by Commissioner Tinsley.
And may I speak to this, please?
Yes.
Okay. We've done these certificates of recognition for quite a while. It takes a lot of work from our county employees to get this done. We're looking at change. We want to change the whole thing around. One of the things we want to do is give out medals. Okay. These certificates, when we do that, there's a cost to those. There'll be a cost to these. It's not a lot different. The idea is that it'll make it probably, for some people, this will be much more desirable. A lot of people are now getting out coins for various things, and a lot of people, that's kind of the way things are trending right now. But there's still the traditional resolution is still an option, and there are other things. But the big issue with the resolutions is some commissioners over the years have basically said, I want to recognize this group of people, good luck. And then the county employees have to spend their time tracking down these people. If you're going to do a certificate of recognition, give them a hand. Make sure that they know what you're looking for, because sometimes they have to spend several months trying to get things straightened out for these resolutions. But this is just a change the way we do resolutions and certificates of recognition and other acknowledgements. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ring. I will say that we started doing this, the school board, last year, I think, and they've been really popular. I know the kids that come or the people that we get, teachers and things, they like the challenge coin. You don't necessarily have to have the ribbon. They also function as a challenge coin. They've been pretty popular as we've done it at the school board. So I can say that I think it's something neat for us to try. And according to Ms. Denon, correct me if I'm wrong, the cost is about the same for the certificates and the coins. So it's not a big difference in price.
When you end up with the printing costs and the folder costs.
The other thing that I would add coming out of legislative is that they're working on a form when we do a resolution. We all need to be a little tighter when we ask for a resolution to honor someone. I've been bad about this. I call Ms. Denon and ask her to do something to honor someone, then I don't give her all the details, and she has to kind of pull it out of me. So there will be a form that we'll share that everybody can fill out, and then we can list the people and get them the information that they need to make it a little more timely. So no one's in the queue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, got Commissioner Mo Taylor voting no. Any other no's? Commissioner Jeremy Mansfield. So by a vote of 22-2, motion passes. Okay. Now we will go to Budget Committee, 2109-14, Commissioner Chris Taylor. What's that?
Touched until missed, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been trained on that. 2109-14, authorizing a transfer of $60,667 between major categories for various items of the Highway Department. I so move. This is one where Miss Judy needed to replace some general equipment. Initially, it was brought up through roads, and she wants to pull some from her asphalt funds, and there was some concern about taking money from asphalt when we're trying to do roads. When it came to budget, there's also a question of maintenance of means. If we do it the way it was initially presented to us from the roads, it would add $60,000 to her budget, which we would have to do every year from then on. Instead, we're allowing her to do the transfers. It doesn't contribute to maintenance of means. We've also given her right at $1.8 million additional this year through various funds for asphalt. We've talked about her very aggressive program for repaving and treating all of the county roads. We realize that at some point, and I've already spoken with her and Brock about this, if this calendar year, fiscal year, they start to get low on money for hot mix and everything else, they're going to let us know. We know at some point we'll need to supplement that. Mr. Long and I have already been working on ways that we could do a short-term bond. So again, it wouldn't contribute to her maintenance and means. So we don't want to ramp up her budget any more than is absolutely necessary. So that's why we're at, it's going to be taken out of asphalt or whatever fund she wants to move it from. This is something we let every department and elected official do. They can move things within their budget as they choose to.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. The motion, for the record, the motion was made by Commissioner Chris Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Ring. Mr. Mansfield, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was on the Highway Committee when this was discussed, and, you know, when I saw the line item of pulling funding from asphalt when we have so many people complaining about roads in this county, and that's kind of what kind of the function of government is. Part of their taxes is for roads, for the appropriate entities. So when I saw $38,000 being pulled for asphalt, knowing that we have to go towards capital project needs, you know, I made the motion in highway to have $38,000 go for being pulled from our county general capital funds one time, which is allowable. We've done it in the past for school buses, for the Board of Education. We can do that for highway, for equipment. Unfortunately, it's incorrectly stated that it would increase the MOE. That is not true. I contacted CTAS. And
CTAS doesn't run it.
Hang on. Let him finish. I'll
yeah.
come back to
So
Go ahead, Mr. Mansfield.
I contacted CTAS about could we take this from the county general capital funds, and they said yes, and asked if would it basically do anything to increase the maintenance effort, and they said no. Both either from the highway side or from Fund 171, which is a restricted local funds for local that David had put on this that went from highway to budget, and that would not impact the MOE. If it's coming from Fund 171 is what I was told for CTAS. So just wanted to correct that we could still pull this $38,000 to keep it in asphalt that is desperately needed. That's why I made the motion to have $38,000 of this pulled out of our capital funds in order to do a one-time infusion for these capital needs so that we can keep as much money in paving as possible. And that was the goal of this, and it was almost unanimous out of highway to move that forward. So I moved to amend this to have $38,000 pulled out of our capital funds so that we can keep as much in paving and not transfer over as much as possible. So my motion is, what my original motion was in highway, to have $38,000 from our capital funds to go towards this one-time purchase that does not affect the MOE for the highway department.
All right, so let me make sure, $38,000 from capital one time.
Yes, sir, for the roller, and it was for the roller and for an air compressor.
Okay.
So needing for paving jobs and hot repair asphalt mix jobs.
So motion made, amendment offered by Mr. Mansfield, second made by Commissioner Taylor. Let's go to our county mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to correct one statement, and I know it was a mistake on his part. I talked to our finance director, and of course he had to leave. He wasn't feeling well. But that is not correct. It would go toward maintenance of effort for highway because first and foremost, that capital money that the commissioner is referring to is funded by property tax. So regardless of what CTAS said, and probably because they didn't have sufficient information, that would permanently go to changing that property tax allocation, and that would go toward maintenance of effort. That is not a smart move, and in fact, that's how you get yourself in trouble. We pass a budget annually, and it would have to be extraordinary circumstances to give additional money, especially to the school system, the highway, the sheriff's office, and libraries, because they all have maintenance of effort. And, you know, Ms. Harding is the one, our road superintendent. She does a great job. She's the one that actually came to committee. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hinton does a good job of chairing that committee and actually brought that resolution or that request forward in highway to make that transfer. I agree we need more money for paving, but that's the money that we have available. And in fact, with the help of the budget chairman, we allocated another $900,000 additional dollars for paving this year. So I think that's a mistake to do that because once you do that, you can't go back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Mr. Hinton.
Like it's already been said, and the vote was almost unanimous. I voted to send it to the Budget Committee. Now, if you think about this, if there's two options here. We all want all paving money. Everybody likes us to have plenty of money in that project because none of us like potholes. So if you say that fast, let's don't take money out of asphalt. Let's get it somewhere else. That sounds all right. But to the best of my knowledge, we've kind of always held the line that once you get your budget, whatever department you are, whenever you get your budget, unless there's some kind of emergency, you don't just loop more money into your budget. You have to manage your own budget. If you can transfer inside your budget from one line to another, we go along with that pretty good. But to go back to the well, so that's what needed to be aired out at the budget committee. Now, I don't care if we put $38,000 in more in blacktop. We probably, for a strange thing for me to say, but with the amount of money we got coming that's going into that, we'll probably know the difference whether we put that money back in or get that money from somewhere else. So I do think it's a bad precedent, and I voted to send it on to the budget committee, but knowing full well that it's a bad precedent to when somebody needs money in their budget that we can, and they have money to transfer, then rather than doing that, to come back to the well again and ask for more money. So I agree we don't need to ever shorter asphalt money, but I also agree that we don't need to mess budgets up. We wouldn't, some of us would feel compassionate about asphalt, somebody else would like something else, and somebody else would like something else. So if we start this exception to the protocol, then we may be opening a can of worms. So if she's going to have plenty of asphalt money, then is what the goal needs to be, that she don't run out of asphalt money to work on the road. So that's where it's coming from the budget committee. So.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hinton. Mr. Graves, this is on the amendment. You want to talk about
what is the amendment? Sorry.
The amendment is to take it out of capital instead of taking $38,000 out of capital instead of moving.
It's on the amendment. We got a lot of ducks back in the potholes again. It rained. That was true. That's the joke then, but still a lot of potholes out there. They're doing a lot of asphalt. We do a lot of paving roads. Asphalt's used for potholes too. But if you run out of asphalt money, you don't have no money to fix potholes. And that's what's happening. She's out of money again. The road superintendent, I'm sorry. The county's out of, the highway department's out of money again. So evidently we didn't give them enough money. And it's about the $38,000, not necessarily. I agree with Mr. Commissioner Hinton there about that. It ain't gonna matter one way or the other where we take it out of. But we'd be messing up the budget the way it is here because we're gonna take some out of her budget now to pay for it. If I'm reading this right. Am I reading it right, Mr. Chairman?
I think what Mr. Hinton said is, as practice, we've let people move money within their department to meet their needs, but not pull from outside because they had a budget shortfall. So you could move it within your own department, just not try to come out here and grab it, is my understanding of what Mr. Hinton was saying.
Maybe the road superintendent, maybe she agreed on that, I don't know, but she told us she didn't have no money at the highway committee to be moving around, and especially asphalt money, because she didn't have none. I don't know where you're going to get, if she used it as asphalt money, I don't know where you're going to get it from. She ain't got no money left in the budget, I was told.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graves. Commissioner Mo Taylor.
Well, I know what's been said and about the 60,000 in maintenance of effort, but if we're fretting over $60,000 on some of the things we spend money on, even if it is maintenance of effort, if it does, and it doesn't affect her maintenance of effort. You can say it does, you can say it does, I say it doesn't. Because we buy school buses every year, we buy textbooks every year. that didn't fall off a money tree, didn't come from the federal government. That come from property taxes as well. Capital, the pennies, part of the pennies, where the pennies are allocated. Part of those pennies are allocated to capital. So, and I'm not, you know, the roads in a lot of the parts of this county, up in my district especially, are terrible. Some of them should have their name changed to Beat Your Brains Out Boulevard. I mean, they just should. So I support, but I'm going to move to refer this back to the Budget Committee.
Okay. Second. Motion to refer, seconded by Commissioner Mansfield.
I think these were things she needed to purchase.
What's that?
I think these were things she needed to purchase.
Okay. Can we debate refer?
Point of information, we're on an amendment.
Yeah. Let's, Mr.
What are we referring?
Yeah. Let's vote on the amendment, Mr. Mansfield, and then you can entertain your refer motion.
You refer. I can't refer amendment.
Or I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor, let's vote on the amendment.
The whole motion.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to vote on the amendment first, and then I'll come back to you to make the. Yeah. That's my fault. We can't refer on an amendment. Let me, unless you want to withdraw your amendment and then. Sure.
So, just to clarify, CTAS did have what went through budget. I provided that to them. And their response was it would not impact MOE if it's coming from Fund 171, which is restricted funds for local. So, I'm happy to withdraw my motion in order to send it back to budget for clarification. So, I will withdraw that amendment.
Okay. And you're good. Okay. All right, so now we're back to Commissioner Mo Taylor's move to refer, right? And seconded by Commissioner Mansfield. Okay. All right, so if we refer, we send this back to budget. If we vote no, we continue debate. Yes. Yes.
Isn't this something that she needs to have replaced right now?
That's my understanding.
My understanding is that it is something she needs to purchase now. That's my understanding. Okay.
The vote is open. Each commissioner, please record your vote. All 24 votes are entered. Anyone wish to change your vote? With 6 affirmative votes, motion to refer fails to carry.
Okay. Do y'all wish to reintroduce your amendment now? Okay. All right. See no one else in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, I've got Commissioner Mo Taylor voting no, Commissioner Mansfield voting no. Any other noes? Commissioner Terry Wright voting no. Any other noes? Okay. By a vote of 21-3, motion passes. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? Hang on one second. Yes, Mr. Taylor. Hang on, let me get you on the camera. Go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Today about there being a water line meeting.
The county mayor wants to call the meeting, so let's talk to him. He's next Monday.
Okay.
I was told to draft a note.
I would like that discussed here. That's my point of personal privilege.
Okay, I would encourage you to take that up with the county mayor personally. That's not on our agenda tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Commissioner Foster, seconded by Commissioner Kruger. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.